Good morning, wonderful people of the internet. Just wanted to briefly talk to you on this wonderful Saturday morning about the new movie, The Batman. Gotta say, I'm a huge fan. I thought it was great. It tells a very different story than what we've been given before, mostly because of its themes. It's this noiring over theme. It's very much grounded in grit and grime. That it's a little bit deeper than we've seen, particularly with the Christopher Nolan films. Not saying that didn't go to dark places, but this takes that and turns it up and really steps away from the kind of comic gimmicky portrayals we got in the 90s and early 2000s. I think the casting here was great. I know that a lot of people didn't think Pattinson could really pull off the cowl, and I think he may be my favorite Batman. I don't think he's objectively the best Batman, but I think that this might be my favorite rendition of the Batman because of my own personal biases and things I like. It's a very stoic performance, is the best way I can put it without trying to give too many spoilers. I also love how Pattinson and Kravitz play together. Their on-screen chemistry is just, I don't know, I felt it. It felt good to see those two together. And Kravitz as a Catwoman is much better than Anne Hathaway. Not saying Anne Hathaway's performance wasn't great, but I think that this story lends itself better to Catwoman. They definitely tried to, ground her in The Dark Knight Rises with particular, her little upbringing. They showed some light, but this she belongs in more of this gritty world, which is very nice. Didn't even realize Colin Farrell was in this film as he plays the Penguin or Cobblepot, depending on how you want to call him. And that's not to say it's not a credit to him. Like I thought that was another good performance. I really didn't expect a whole lot. I thought that would be a side character who no one cared about. He was just there, to kind of bullshit and push the story along. But yeah, I think Colin Farrell's performance is really good here. And to be fair, yes, the Penguin is a side character, but his on-screen presence is shown through. Jeffrey Wright, I think, is a wonderful Jim Gordon. Holy shit, this was a big highlight for me next to Pattinson's Batman was Jeffrey Wright, and you get a lot of time with the two. There's definitely a buddy cop dynamic there, and I think it works really well. Now Paul Dano is the Riddler. I think he does a phenomenal job. I will say that they definitely took the character in a direction that I didn't think it was going to go, particularly because of what he is as a character. But given the story that the world's told in, it makes sense and it works. And it works really well, and he does a phenomenal job with it. So overall, I think that the cast on here is amazing, top to bottom. I think that they did a great job. The story is it's a very personal story, right? We get a very young Batman who's kind of it's kind of a coming of age film, right? In a weird way, and someone finding their identity, which is something that we saw a little bit of, particularly with the Batman Begins. But this takes it in kind of a different perspective, sets it in a different world, and it does it really well. There are a lot of similarities in themes between this one and the Dark Knight trilogy by Christopher Nolan. But this maybe goes a little bit deeper into those because of the world it's set in. It makes them the creative choice of making this a noirian film allows it to go just a little cut above. It takes the kind of the grime and the grit of the Christopher Nolan's films and turns it up quite a bit. And I think that's one of its strongest points. And the overall story, it's an oriented kind of action thriller mystery. You're kind of trying to figure out who done it, who did it. It's very murder mystery esque, and it works here. I think that's another it's a great story. The ending probably where a lot of people are going to have issues with doesn't quite toe the line of what you expect from these kind of films, which is great. I think it kind of subverts expectations a little bit, and I'm here for that. The music was fantastic. I found myself listening to it and doing, oh my god, this is just great. There's very rare moments where that's actually a thing for me and when I watch movies or watch films. As the cinematography was, it was okay. It was a lot of the shots were really good. The opening I was kind of weird about, but as the movie on, and that was I will say like I didn't like the opening. The opening kind of was a little very off for me, but the rest of the film pretty damn good. A lot of the camera angles are really nice. There are some times where you're like, this is a little different, but it's not bad. It's just a choice that was made. So overall, I think it's a great film. I definitely understand why people are not going to like it. And this is not your typical Batman. It is not your typical Batman, and that's where people are going to have issues with it, right? It's if you take the nitty gritty of Christopher Nolan and then add a layer of grime to it, that's kind of what you get here. As I said, I think this is my favorite Batman, but I don't think it's the best. Partially because in order to play a good Batman, you have to have a good Bruce Wayne. And here we don't really see a lot of the Bruce Wayne. If I'm being completely honest, absolutely completely honest, which is not not the worst, but it works in the way they're trying to tell the story, and it's something that they could explore. I'm excited for a sequel. They definitely tease a sequel. I will say that the big bad, or I would love to see, particularly in this setting, would be Mr. Freeze. I think that he is a character that we haven't seen on the big screen in a while, and I think that he would do very well in this particular setting. There's some other ones that I think would do good, but I would be really excited to see Mr. Freeze. I think it's his time to shine on the silver screen. That way we can wash away the mishaps of the past. And I also feel like some of the other characters, get a lot of hype, right? The Joker is someone that you can't talk about Batman without talking about the Joker, and I think that I don't think you're ever going to top Heath Ledger's performance there. We've got two other renditions of that character since that, but we've gotten the Scarecrow with the Nolan series. We've gotten Bane. We've gotten Two-Face. We've got a lot of these other characters, but we haven't even begun to touch certain things. And I think Mr. Freeze is a great antagonist for the next film, assuming they make one. I hope they make one. I hope this film does well because I fucking loved it. So those are my thoughts. Toodles.